Heartwarming transformation. Lonely receptionist discovers incredible love after 5 years. Invite. Every morning, Sarah slipped into the bustling local hospital, feeling like an invisible thread in the fabric of life swirling around her. The phones rang in a cacophony, nurses rushed by with purpose, and patients murmured anxiously in waiting rooms, but Sarah, the loyal receptionist, felt like a ghost. Each day, she silently answered calls and filed endless paperwork, a ritual that deepened her veil of loneliness. The world outside kept spinning, yet her dreams of finding love seemed to drift further away, like clouds parting for an elusive blue sky. Family dinners at Grandma Edna's home provided fleeting warmth. Surrounded by the laughter of cousins and the cozy scent of pot roast, Sarah could almost pretend she was whole. But then, she'd catch a glimpse of the empty seat where her estranged brother once sat, an unspoken ache filling the space between comfort and heartache. The laughter felt like a quilt draped over her, soft yet heavy with reminders of the missing pieces of her life. As the hospital prepared for its annual charity event, Sarah found a newfound purpose in uniting her community for a greater cause. It was there, amidst the energetic planning sessions, that she met Jake, a former soldier whose haunted eyes told stories of battles fought both on and off the field. They quickly connected over shared determination and aspirations, the warmth between them slowly kindling into friendship. Each late-night meeting unfolded, revealing layers of dreams and fears. They felt the pulse of their downtrodden town beating in sync with their hearts, each like a drum echoing for change as they faced looming financial cuts threatening their lifeline, the very hospital to which they devoted so much. At such moments when adrenaline and ambition coursed through her veins, Sarah could almost forget the shadows of her past. The townsfolk rallied, banding together, and her heart swelled with hope as they organized bake sales and car washes, pouring effort and love into their shared dream. Watching her community rise gave her a spark, but doubts crept in. Could she allow herself to embrace a budding relationship with Jake while grappling with memories of her brother, the gaping wound that still hadn't healed? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The weight of unresolved tensions with her brother surged, drowning out all harmony. The family confrontations turned electric, raw emotions spilling out, Sarah's frustrations clawing for release. Why did you leave, Mark? Why do you keep hurting us? His silence echoed like a gavel, pangs of guilt and blame ricocheting off the walls. Just when she thought she could sink, the community fortified her. They stood together, their hands stretching out toward her in unified support, urging her on, needing her to seize her chance at love and belonging. A surge of determination flooded her heart as their voices united with hers. But doubts clung tight, whispering lies of inadequacy, like chains anchoring her in bittersweet nostalgia. As she stood on the precipice of her transformation, her heart raced. Shadows flickered in her mind. Would she embrace love, stitch broken ties with her brother, or let them both slip into darkness? The air thickened with her inner conflict, the electric tension palpable, leaving the town breathless, watching her every move. The vast horizon of possibilities stretched before Sarah, uncertain, yet shimmering with promise. Would she dare to step forward? Would she finally become the vibrant soul waiting to emerge? Sarah sat in her small, cluttered office at the hospital, where the sounds of hustle and bustle enveloped her like an old, familiar blanket. Today, however, that warmth was tinged with a sense of possibility. The charity event loomed closer, and everything seemed to spark with vitality. Each conversation hummed with hope, each interaction a thread weaving the community into something majestic. Yet, in the depths of her heart, she felt a storm brewing. Jake's laughter echoed in her mind, a sound she found herself craving more and more. Each time they spoke, it felt like a dance, a tentative waltz, both exhilarating and terrifying. He had become her confidant, a fellow dreamer, and someone she could trust to guide her through the chaos of these final days of planning. But could she show him the messy depths of her emotional landscape? As she pushed through her day, she caught glimpses of interference in the hospital hallways. Dr. Thompson, the head doctor, spoke urgently to a group of nurses about budget cuts, his brow furrowed with concern. Sarah's heart sank. What if their charitable efforts weren't enough to save their beloved institution? Just then, she spotted Jake leaning against the wall, gazing intently at a poster for their upcoming event. Sarah's heartbeat quickened, her worries receding as she approached. "Hey," she said softly, and he turned, a light breaking across his face. "Thought I'd find you here," he replied, that warm smile igniting something deep within her. As they discussed the details of the event, Sarah felt a swell of determination coursing through her. She wanted to play a bigger role not just in the planning but in standing up against the encroaching shadows of despair that threatened their hospital. What if we got the community to write letters to the town council, expressing how vital this place is to us? Jake's expression shifted from contemplation to excitement. "That's a brilliant idea. We can set up a table at the event for people to sign them." In that moment, Sarah's heart leapt. Maybe this was the turning point, not just for the hospital but for her as well. She could feel their shared passion radiating, transforming the empty spaces within her. Yet even as her hope soared, flickers of doubt began creeping back. The unresolved issues with Mark loomed large in her mind. It was as if every step forward pushed her back just as fiercely. That evening, while the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with ribbons of orange and pink, Sarah found herself at Grandma Edna's dinner table once again. The laughter and warmth surrounded her, but today it felt different. Every cheerful laugh was intertwined with thoughts of Mark's absence. The truth was she wanted to address him, to confront the emotional chaos, but she was terrified. Would it shatter this fragile peace all around her? The moment she returned home, Sarah felt restless, caught between two worlds: her family that felt like a puzzle missing crucial pieces and the hope blooming in her heart. Tensions boiled beneath the surface as she picked up her phone. Just as she was about to dial Mark's number, a text message pinged through from Jake. "Can we talk about the letters tomorrow? I need your input." Her heart raced. Was she ready to balance the fragility of reconciliation with the blossoming flicker of romance? Uncertainty clung to her like fog, and just as she began to gather her courage to reach out to Mark, a knock echoed through her apartment, pulling her back from the edge. Who could it be at this hour? With her pulse quickening, she approached the door, an inexplicable gut feeling telling her that this moment could change everything. Was it Jake, hoping to share more than just ideas? Or was it a shadow from her past, ready to confront her with the truths she had been avoiding? As Sarah stood there, heart racing and hand hovering over the doorknob, she wrestled with her own anxiety. The click of the lock echoed loudly in the stillness of the room. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door, the hinges creaking softly against the weight of the moment. It was a face she hadn't expected to see: Mark. He stood there, his hair tousled, eyes like storm clouds ready to burst. The shadows of the night seemed to cling to his form, a stark contrast to the bright colors of her small apartment. "Sarah," he began, his voice low. "Can we talk?" The world slipped away as she felt the air grow thick. He hadn't spoken to her in weeks, and she struggled to untangle the whirlwind of emotions flooding her. Anger, sadness, hope, fear all twisted together in her heart. "Yeah," she managed to say, stepping aside to let him in. He walked past her, the familiar scent of his cologne filling the air with a bittersweet nostalgia. The silence stretched between them, thick and uneasy. She could feel her heartbeat thudding in her ears as he took a seat on the sofa, his gaze fixed on the wall as if searching for answers in the paint. "I didn't know how to reach out. After everything." His voice faltered for a moment before he turned to face her. "I want to fix this, Sarah. I really do." Her own voice felt caught in her throat. "Fix what, Mark? Everything feels broken." The tension crackled as he ran a hand through his hair, his frustration evident. "I know it was my fault. I didn't support you when you needed it the most. I let my fears get in the way of everything. Sarah's breath hitched at his admission, the gravity of his words weighing down on her. She had needed him, and he had walked away. I felt so alone, Mark. All the things that have been happening at the hospital, the event, it felt like I was fighting a losing battle. The guilt that crossed his features made her heart ache. I realized that I've been running from my own problems. And in doing so, I pushed you away. I'm sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to. His eyes searched hers, desperation flickering amidst the sorrow. Would she let him back in? The thought sent icy daggers through her heart. Just when she thought there might be a chance for reconciliation, her phone buzzed again, breaking the fragile moment. Jake's name flashed across the screen, pulling her thoughts away like an unwelcome specter. Can you give me just a minute? She asked, already knowing that she might not have the strength to fight through this storm with Mark and keep the flicker of hope alive with Jake at the same time. Sure, he nodded, his expression strained. She walked over to the kitchen island, the tension in the room palpable as she opened the message. Just checking in. Hope we can connect soon. I think we're on the brink of something amazing. Her heart raced, torn between the rekindling of the past with Mark and the potential of a new beginning with Jake. Both men were tethered to her in different ways, and here she was, caught between what she had lost and what could be. When she looked back at Mark, the weight of their shared history hung heavily in the air. What do I do? She whispered to herself, knowing the answer was as unclear as the shadows dancing on the wall. As Sarah stood frozen, her heart a battleground for emotions, another knock sounded at the door. At this hour? It felt all too much. Her mind reeled with possibilities. Was it yet another interruption to her already tumultuous night? With one foot in her past and the other stretching toward the unknown future, she took a deep breath and opened the door again. Could this be the moment that changes everything in unexpected ways? As Sarah opened the door, her breath caught at the sight before her. It wasn't just another face, but her sister, Kate, standing there, eyes wide with surprise. Sarah. I didn't think you'd be home. Kate. Sarah exclaimed, stepping aside to let her sister in. The surprise faded into a warm relief, the kind that only family could bring. But beneath that warmth, the swirl of emotions remained tangled like weeds in her heart. Is everything okay? Kate asked, peering into the room, her brow furrowed with concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. The moment felt like a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea. Sarah wanted to spill everything, the weight of her conversations with Mark, the messages from Jake, the confusion swirling in her mind. But instead, she forced a smile. Yeah, just a busy night. Mark stood awkwardly across the room, watching the reunion. Sarah glanced at him, catching the flicker of sadness in his eyes. Here they were, disrupted by an unexpected arrival. Hey, why don't we all sit down? Sarah suggested, motioning towards the couch. Kate settled beside her, and Mark took the chair opposite, creating a triangle that felt both comforting and tense. Did I interrupt something? Kate asked, the question hanging in the air heavy with implications. No, just a talk, Mark replied, his voice careful, as if trying to navigate a fragile situation. About what? Curiosity danced in Kate's tone. Before Sarah could respond, her phone buzzed again. Without thinking, she picked it up to see a message from Jake. I can be there in 10 minutes. Everything's better when we talk. A shot of panic coursed through her. Would she be able to face both men at once? Was she ready for that? Sarah. Kate nudged her, breaking her from the daze. What is going on? Nothing, she said quickly, shutting her phone and shoving it into her pocket, feeling the weight of secrets press against her chest. Come on, you can tell me, Kate encouraged, her eyes sparkling with sisterly concern. Taking a deep breath, Sarah opened her mouth, ready to spill the truth about the turmoil between hope and heartbreak. Yet, before she could speak, the silence was shattered once more. A sound echoed from outside, a car pulling up, its headlights slicing through the darkness of the night. I think I need to get the door," Sarah stammered, her gut tightening. Both Mark and Kate glanced at her, their expressions mirroring her dread and anticipation. "Should I answer it?" Kate asked, glancing at Sarah. But Sarah nodded, her heart racing. She couldn't let this night spin out of control. As she walked to the door, each step felt heavier than the last. What if Jake was right? What if this connection they had could indeed lead to something amazing? But what about Mark, standing there now, hoping for redemption? She hesitated at the door, looking back at Mark, whose expression was unreadable, a mask of hope and regret. With shaking fingers, she grasped the doorknob and turned it. The door swung open, revealing Jake, his smile wide and infectious. "Sarah." His expression shifted immediately when he noticed Mark seated in her living room. "Oh, I didn't realize," and just like that, the playful energy dissipated, replaced by a charged silence filled with unanswered questions. Sarah felt the world shrink around her, both opportunity and regret hanging in the air. "Hey," Jake said, his gaze darting between her and Mark, tension slithering into the room. "Jake, this is Mark. We have some things to sort out," Sarah managed to say, the truth cascading out like a poorly timed confession. As the weight of those words hung in the air, Sarah felt an ache deep within. Her heart trembled, caught in the storm of what was, what could be, and what was yet unknown. "Are you okay?" Jake asked, concern lacing his voice. Sarah stood there, in the eye of the storm, knowing this moment might change everything again. All eyes were on her, waiting for her next move. What was she going to choose? Would she step forward, seize her future with Jake, or turn back to the remnants of her past with Mark? Her heart raced, but deep down, another postscript lingered. Was this collision of lives fated, or merely the catalyst for a change she didn't even know she needed? With those thoughts swirling, she felt the world hinge on her answer, and suddenly the stakes felt higher than ever. What would her choice be this time? The moment stretched like taffy in the warm summer air. Sarah felt the heat rise in her cheeks, her heart thundering louder with each breath. Jake's eyes searched her face, and she could feel Mark's scrutiny from across the room, both burning yet oddly familiar. Hey, Jake," she began, forcing a smile even though it felt like a mask. "I wasn't expecting you." "Clearly," Jake replied, his voice steady while tension lurked under the surface. He took a step into the room, glancing around as if trying to decipher an unspoken language. "I just wanted to talk about everything we've been discussing." Mark broke the thick silence. "This isn't the best time, Jake. We were actually in the middle of something." His tone was a little sharper than Sarah anticipated, drawing a protective line in the sand. "Right," Jake said, demeanor shifting to one of calm defiance. "But I think it is the best time. Sarah needs to decide what she wants." The intensity of his gaze flickered with determination, contrasting with the gentle way he had always looked at her. Sarah felt the sting of his words, a rush of anger and gratitude intertwining. She didn't want to be put on the spot. She didn't want either of them to think they were making her choose. "Guys, please," she whispered, looking back and forth between them, feeling the tension vibrating in the air like a taut wire ready to snap. "Just give me a minute." Kate, who had been sitting quietly, her hands clasped tightly on her lap, finally piped up. "Sarah, it's okay to be honest. Maybe you need to say how you feel. We're all friends here, right?" Her voice was soothing, but it only added to the swirling storm in Sarah's chest. With a shaky exhale, Sarah took a seat on the edge of the couch. The fabric felt rough against her palms. She decided this was it, the moment she faced her turmoil. "I thought I had it all sorted out," she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "But then Jake came back into my life, and she stopped, looking at Jake, feeling both drawn and repelled. And I feel something when I'm with you, Jake." Jake stepped closer, vulnerability washing over his features. "I want you to be happy, Sarah. Even if that's not with me." But I can't just stand back and watch you throw away what we have without fighting for it. Mark shifted in his chair, the hurt evident in his eyes. And what about us, Sarah? What about the times we've shared? The words hung there, filled with nostalgic weight. Each memory they had spent together crashing over her like waves. Mark, you're a part of my past, and I care about you, she murmured, her heart breaking with each word. But can we really go back? Can we just erase the hurt and start anew? The question echoed, drowning out the rising cacophony of emotions that in that moment, it felt as if time had stopped. The air was thick with longing and regret, and Sarah felt torn between the familiar comfort of Mark and the magnetic pull of Jake. I don't know what I want, she finally confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. I really don't. The room fell into silence, each person absorbing her words. Sarah's heart raced, filled with uncertainty, and she felt both fragile and empowered in the clarity of her honesty. The tension remained heavy, each heartbeat counting down to a decision that felt monumental. Would they all walk away from this moment unchanged, or would this be the beginning of something transformative? Just then, her phone buzzed again, breaking the stillness like a clap of thunder. She fished it out of her pocket, heart pounding with anticipation as she saw it was a text from an unknown number. You need to know the truth, Sarah, about Mark. Her pulse quickened, a mix of fear and curiosity flooding her senses. What truth? What had she missed? The stage was set for revelations, but who would come out unscathed? There was no turning back now. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she stared at the screen, the unknown number blinking back at her, filled with secrets she hadn't asked for but desperately needed answered. What truth? She whispered to herself, feeling the room's air thicken even more. Mark leaned in, his eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that both frightened and comforted her. What is it? He asked, his voice low, but the tension didn't escape him. Jake was still, watching her with deep concern painted on his features. You don't have to answer that now, Sarah, he urged gently. You don't owe anyone anything. But Sarah could feel the gravity of the situation. She didn't just owe them the truth, she owed it to herself. She swallowed hard, her heart thumping loudly in the silence. I need to see what it says, she admitted. With shaky fingers, she tapped the screen, opening the message. Meet me at Miller's Diner at 6 p.m., it read. I'll tell you everything. You deserve to know. There was no signature, just a sense of duty wrapped in urgency. Who is it? Mark pressed again, his tone softening but still loaded with worry. Do you know who sent this? It's an unknown number, she replied, glancing back up at him, heat flushing in her cheeks. But I need to go. I can't ignore this. Is this about me? Mark's voice faltered. What else could someone possibly have to say? I don't know. She snapped, her frustration leaking through her authoritative facade. But if there is something that could change everything, I need to find out. Silence lingered as her words hung in the air, each person grappling with their own thoughts. Okay, I get it, Jake finally said, stepping forward. Just be careful. You don't know who it could be, or what they want. Yeah, well, I can't ignore it, Sarah shot back, emotions fluctuating like tide pools. I've put my life on hold for too long. It's time to face the truth, whatever that may be. Mark leaned back, defeated yet still holding on to a shred of hope. And what if it's something bad? What if it changes everything? Sarah bit her lip, fear coursing through her veins. The thought of learning something that could pull the thread on their fragile fabric was terrifying. But a deeper fear gnawed at her. What if she never found out? What if there was something buried that could alter the course of her life? I have to know. I can't live in this haze anymore, she breathed, determination settling in her bones. I owe that much to myself. Kate watched the breakdown unfold, a mix of admiration and concern etched on her face. You're stronger than you think, Sarah. Just trust yourself. The subtle support shifted something within Sarah. The panic subsided slightly, replaced by fiery resolve. Whatever awaited her at Miller's, she would face it head-on. As she glanced around the room, two sets of eyes filled with worry and heartbreak lingered on her. She forced a smile through the cracks of her turmoil, hoping to reassure them, if only for a moment. "I'll figure things out." But when? The question remained unasked, heavy and unsettling, like the countless possibilities stretching before her. With a final nod of confidence, Sarah decided. "I'm going to meet this person. I'll be back soon." And as she turned to leave, a sliver of uncertainty zigzagged up her spine, a feeling that whatever truths awaited could entangle them all in ways they hadn't planned. What had Mark been hiding? And would learning the truth bring them closer or drive them apart even further? Time was running out, and for Sarah, the storm was just beginning. The clock on the wall ticked steadily towards 6. Each tick felt like a countdown to a moment Sarah wasn't sure she was ready for. She parked her car outside Miller's diner, a familiar place that now held a sense of impending doom. The neon sign flickered, casting an unsettling glow on the sidewalk as she stepped out. Inside, the diner buzzed with activity. Waitresses glided between tables, carrying plates piled high with comfort food. The scent of coffee and bacon filled the air, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah felt a pang of normalcy. But then, she remembered the message and the weight of it all crashed back down. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the door and scanned the room. Her heart raced as the familiar faces of strangers wrapped around her in an enveloping warmth, but it did little to ease her tension. Where was the sender? Her eyes darted toward an empty booth at the back, hoping to spot a familiar silhouette. She hesitated, then moved toward the booth where she could wait but still remain visible. Time dragged on, and minutes felt like hours. She played with the edge of her sleeve, trying to read the expressions of the people around her. Outside birds chirped, oblivious to what was about to unfold inside. Sarah's mind reeled back to Mark and Jake. Did they really understand how fragile everything felt? She needed answers, and then she saw him. A tall man with shaggy dark hair stepped through the diner door. The instant he entered, her heart thudded painfully in her chest. It was a face she had seen before, perhaps a fragment from a distant memory or an old photo. His eyes locked onto hers, and a sense of recognition washed over her. He approached her table with purpose, a nervous smile breaking his otherwise stern demeanor. "Sarah?" he asked, his voice settling over her like a soft blanket. "Yeah, that's me," she replied, feeling her throat tighten. I'm Jake's brother, Evan." The name sent shivers down her spine. "I know this is a lot, but I needed to talk to you." Her breath hitched as she tried to process what this meant. "You're Jake's brother? But why now?" Evan sat down, his gaze earnest and filled with urgency. "It's about what happened, about the past. I heard things. Things that have to do with you and Mark. Why should I trust you?" The words slipped from her lips, sharp and defensive. "Because I loved Jake just as much as you did," he said, his eyes filled with an intensity that made her shiver. "And I can't keep silent anymore." Her heart sank as emotions twisted like vines in her chest. Jake, her comforting friend, had a brother she knew nothing about. The thought rattled her consciousness. "What are you saying? What do you know?" Evan took a breath, his hands clenched tightly together. "There are secrets. Things that could change everything between you and Mark. But it's not just about them, it's about you. It's about what you deserve to know." The implications hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Sarah felt the walls of the diner close in, the laughter around her fading to whispers. "Tell me," she demanded, her voice trembling with determination. "I need to know." Evan's expression twisted with an emotion more complex than fear. It was regret and hope intertwined. "The truth is more complicated than you think. And I fear it may unravel you." "I don't care." She shot back, fire burning in her guts. Just then, the weight of every decision she'd made converged like a storm. "I need to hear it. Let it unravel me." As his mouth opened to speak, the diner seemed to fade into the background, the fluorescent lights dimming as a silence fell over them. In that instant, she felt both terrified and exhilarated. The storm was near, but the answers were finally within reach. What if the truth was more devastating than anything she had imagined? And if it changed her relationship with Mark forever, would she still be willing to embrace it? Evan's mouth opened, but the words hung unspoken in the air, like a balloon tied too tightly, ready to burst. Sarah leaned forward, her heart hammering as he searched her eyes for understanding. "Jake," he started, his voice barely above a whisper. "He wasn't just my brother. He was my best friend. He carried a burden. One that he never shared with you, and I think it's time that you knew." Her breath quickened. What burden? The tension in her chest tightened, twisting like a vice. He was dealing with some serious stuff before Evan paused, his eyebrows knitting together as he fought back memories. Before the accident. And he left me with unanswered questions, questions that I've tried to piece together. An unsettling knot formed in her stomach. What kind of stuff? His feelings, Sarah. Evan's eyes intensified, his voice growing sharp with urgency. He cared about you more than you realize. He had demons, fears about how to express it all. And Mark? There were tensions there, things that never really got resolved between them because of you. Her breath caught. What do you mean? Jake was afraid to lose you. He didn't want to ruin the friendship that was so important to him. For a time, it felt like he chose to love you from afar, while feeling trapped in that brotherly role. I've watched him struggle with it, and then when everything happened, it broke him. He thought he'd never get his chance. A lump formed in her throat. She felt tears prick at her eyes as old memories surged forth, the laughter, the close moments, the promises of an unshakable bond. Had she misread all those signs, taking them for mere friendship? What did Mark have to do with any of this? She pressed, her pulse racing. Mark knew, Sarah. He could see it too, the way Jake looked at you, the way he spoke about you. It created a rift. Mark thought Jake was a fool, lost in his feelings. And Jake couldn't let either of you down. I think it played a huge role in what happened, that day. Was it really possible? Could she have been the key to their distance? And could she ever reconcile that with the love she felt for Mark? Questions whirled in her mind, crashing like waves against a rocky shore. I never meant to come between them, she whispered, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Evan reached out, taking her hand in his. I believe you. But it deepens the question you have to face now about your own feelings. What do you truly want? For Jake and for yourself? A rush of emotion flooded through her. Was it betrayal or revelation? She stared into Evan's eyes as he searched her soul, challenging her to dig deeper. I need to think, she stammered, pulling her hand away. Could she look at Mark without those lingering shadows? I'm here to help you find the answers, Evan said softly, his voice urging yet encouraging. But I can't promise what you want to hear. Just know that there's more at stake than you realize. Outside, the world continued its chaotic rhythm, but inside that booth, time felt suspended, the urgency palpable. Sarah needed to make a choice: confront Mark and uncover the truth, or retreat into the safety of her ignorance. Before she could respond, Evan stood, casting one last piercing look before leaving. Think about what I said. Please. As silence engulfed the booth, she felt her heart ache, the revelation settling like a stone in her chest. Was she ready to confront Mark with the burden of this truth? Her phone buzzed on the table, setting off a jolt of surprise. She picked it up. It was a message from Mark, simple yet weighty. Can we meet? I need to talk to you. Suddenly, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Every moment from here on would change everything, but was she brave enough to meet it head-on? The truth and its consequences loomed like a storm on the horizon, and she had to decide if she would step into the rain. The moment she read Mark's message, Sarah's heart raced with anxiety and excitement. She stared at the screen, the words blurring as tears formed in her eyes. Could this be the chance for clarity, or was it just bait for further heartache? Taking a deep breath, she reminded herself to focus. Outside the diner, the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows over the pavement. She needed to answer Mark. But what if he didn't understand her turmoil? What if he was still wrapped in his own confusion? Typing slowly, she crafted a response. Okay. Where? Pressing send felt like a leap into the unknown. She knew the cafe where they first met, a cozy, tucked-away spot that felt like a lifetime ago. Sitting alone in the booth after Evan left, she tried to collect her thoughts. The room buzzed with patrons, laughter intermingling with the clinking of dishes, but all she could hear was her own heartbeat thumping in her ears. What did she want? Did she still love Mark? His warmth had always been a comfort, but now, thoughts of Jake muddled everything. The notion of the love that was never fully realized gnawed at her insides. What if she'd never truly seen the signs? It felt like reading a book where the plot twist had just been revealed. Nothing seemed as straightforward anymore. The minutes stretched as she waited, her mind dishing out scenarios. Mark would walk in, looking worried, maybe a little relieved. Would he ask about Evan? Would he mention Jake? Or would he just really see her and reassure her that they were okay? When Mark finally arrived, Sarah could feel every nerve in her body awaken. He stepped inside, scanning the room, his usual smile faltering when their eyes met. "Hey," he said softly, crossing the small gap between them. He slid into the seat across from her, a flicker of concern shadowing his features. "Hey," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She couldn't shake the feeling that everything they had shared, all their moments, hung delicately balanced on this one conversation. "Tough day?" he asked lightly, trying to inject some humor into the heaviness that permeated the air. "Kind of." She took a deep breath, finally finding some courage. "Mark, there is something I need to talk to you about." His brow furrowed, and he nodded, urging her to continue. "I spoke with Evan today," she blurts out, the words tumbling out like marbles off a table. She could see his expression change. "He told me some things about Jake, about how he felt about me." Mark's eyes darkened with surprise and something unreadable. "What do you mean?" "I didn't know," she rushed to explain, a sense of urgency flooding through her. "I thought it was just friendship. I thought I didn't realize how deep his feelings were or how they affected you." Heat crept up her neck, embarrassment joining the whirlwind in her chest. She could see his struggle, the way he wrestled with the truth she had just dropped in front of him. She could almost hear the gears turning in his mind. For a moment, silence reigned, enveloping them in a blanket of tension. The emotions swirled, raw and real. "Why didn't you say anything?" he finally asked, his voice edged with disappointment. "Because I didn't know. I didn't want to hurt you or create a rift," she replied, the words spilling out, each one carrying the weight of what she had been holding back. "And now?" Mark's voice cracked, revealing a chink in his armor. "I'm trying to figure out what we want. I just want us to be honest." His gaze searched hers, and for a moment, time stood still. Was it anger? Sadness? They were all tangled up together. "I need time to process this," he said, his shoulders slumping. "Okay," she murmured, her heart heavy, knowing this was only the beginning of a deeper conversation. As Mark stood to leave, his expression softened, and the warmth from their earlier connection flickered. "Let me call you later." She nodded, feeling a strange mix of hope and uncertainty. With every word exchanged, she realized they were digging deeper into something precious, but uncertain. As he walked away, she felt the truth hanging in the air. Questions, choices, and heartache awaited her, but she had taken the first step. Now, it was time to confront the ghosts that lingered. Could looking back help them move forward? Would they emerge together, or would the fractures deepen? The tension she felt swelled inside, forcing her to wonder if love could survive the truth. As Sarah drove away from the cafe, a mix of emotions churned within her. The conversation with Mark left her feeling raw and exposed, yet she felt liberated by the act of finally speaking her truth. The weight of secrets was lifting, but unknowns lay ahead. She wasn't sure if confronting the past would solidify their bond or push them further apart. All she knew was that honesty had carved a new path in front of her. Later that evening, the calm after the storm settled in her living room like a soft blanket. The chaos of the day faded, leaving a quiet stillness that allowed her mind to wander. She pulled out her phone, thinking of Jake's earlier message. Would he be worried about her? Thoughts spun wildly as the clock ticked on. Just as she was about to text him, her doorbell rang. Almost instinctively, she pushed her anxious feelings aside and opened the door. To her surprise, Jake stood there, his expression one of anxious determination, heart pounding in his chest. "Sarah, I need to talk to you," he started, his voice steady but emotion laced through every word. "Yeah, about everything?" she asked, eyes searching his for assurance. "Exactly." His gaze dropped for a moment, then locked back on hers, resolute. "I'm not backing down. I care about you more than I let on, and knowing there've been feelings between you and Mark it's hard, but I can't pretend it doesn't matter." A surge of warmth washed over her. Would he really fight for them? "Jake, I never meant to hurt you," she replied, her voice trembling. "I've been lost for so long. It's all confusing." He took a step closer. "What I'm about to say might be difficult, but it matters. Who your heart chooses matters. What do you feel?" His earnestness drew her in like a moth to a flame. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt her heart open a little wider. "I feel confused, angry, and scared, but I know I also feel something for you. But Mark is complicated. I need to understand that relationship before I can embrace you fully." The honesty tasted bittersweet, but it was necessary. Jake nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. "I get that. Just know that I'm here for you, regardless of your decision." His voice softened. "You deserve to find your own happiness first." Sarah's heart swelled as she saw a glimpse of acceptance in his demeanor. "No matter how this plays out, can we still hold on to what we have?" she asked, vulnerability lacing her voice. "Absolutely," Jake said, a soft smile breaking the tension. "I'm in this for the long haul. I want to know you, the real you, beyond the pain, the joy, everything that makes you, you." Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes as the walls she had built crumbled. She stepped closer, a rush of gratitude filling her soul. "Thank you for being patient." As Jake reassured her with gentle warmth, the dark clouds hanging over her life began to part. She felt like she was finally stepping into the light after years of shadow. "Hey, let's take a moment, make sure we're truly on this path together," he said, taking her hand. "I'll visit Mark tomorrow. I need to understand his pain too. This isn't just about you and me, it's about everyone." His commitment wrapped around her like a lifeline. "You don't have to do that," she said, worry surfacing again. "But I want to." "There's been enough hurt already," Jake replied firmly. His sincerity sparked something within her, a hope that healing could be shared. Sarah met his gaze, acknowledging the truth reflected in his eyes. "Then let us do this together. I need you to be by my side." With an unbreakable bond forging between them, they both felt emboldened, convinced they could face the past for the sake of their growing love. The next day, Jake sat across from Mark at a small, far corner booth of the cafe where it all began. The air carried weight, silent tension hanging above them like a storm cloud. Mark looked up, shocked to see Jake sitting there. "What is going on?" he queried, the furrow of his brow giving away his anxiety. "I came to talk. About Sarah, about you, about what brought us to this point," Jake responded, his voice steady. Mark's expression shifted to guarded skepticism. "Why now? This is not a conversation I'm sure we should have, not with everything at stake." The words hung heavy, but Jake pressed on. "You care about her, I care about her. We can't let the fractures between us break her. I want to understand. Mark sighed, the fight in him wavering. I've messed up, Jake. All because I refused to face my own feelings, my fear of losing you, and what I thought was inevitable between us. The truth poured out, every unspoken feeling surfaced, and each raw, vulnerable story threaded them closer together. Each man confronted the complexities of brotherhood, love, and the scars they carried. They finished that day side by side, understanding that growth requires both confrontation and growth. As they exited, the air around them felt different. A soft breeze whispered promises of new beginnings. Months later, at a gathering in the town square where Sarah had first connected with her community, she stood next to both Jake and Mark. They shared laughter and stories, a newfound bond cementing between them, one of trust, healing, and openness. Sarah realized she was finally whole, surrounded by warmth from those she loved and trusted. As she took a moment to breathe, the sun pulsed across the sky, illuminating every shadow. The road ahead gleamed with promise, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. Sarah stepped forward, her heart brimming with hope. Love had brought her here, a love that could conquer the shadows, one that embraced them all. As you finish this heartwarming journey with Sarah, delve deeper into the power of transformation and community love. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you never miss these captivating journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Remember, it's about making a difference. Comment your feelings about the ending and how love can truly transform us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans like you understand how much your support means. The future of our stories hinges on it.